We're going to go over the hospital crash carts for the floor. And this is what it looks like. You'll find it in the hallway, usually by a nurse's station, or it could be in a cubby. We're going to go over what's outside and inside on the cart today. Respiratory maintains these carts. So if you use the cart, you have to get it back down to respiratory. Typically when you use the cart, it's a code. Respiratory comes with a cart. So you shouldn't have to do anything after the code with the crash cart except move the monitor and your code flow binder. Okay, so on the one side you'll have a sharps container. So if you can't get to the sharps container in the code, there's one handy dandy right there. On the back is the backboard for the patient. So you'll notice that it's Velcroed here so it doesn't flop as you pull this through in the hallway. But we've got to remember to take the Velcro off and have that, and that goes under your patient. So we'll put that back just for now. On the opposite side of the cart from the sharps, you have your oxygen setup and a suction setup. To use the suction, you have to turn the key to have the oxygen on, as well as to use the oxygen, you have to have the key. So you need to make sure that your tank is full, that it doesn't need to be refilled, and then you'll turn it on, make a loud hissing sound, and your suction will work by turning this on. This is the oxygen in. You hear this, you'll hook the suction at the back, and then it doesn't make any sucking sounds when you hit it to your palm, but it will when you put it in the fluid. Let's turn it off. I'm going to turn this off so you can hear. Just know that this container for the suction is very small, so you want to get your room suction set up as quickly as possible, especially if you have somebody with a lot of distension and it could be a belly full of fluid. So this is for small amounts. You want to get your wall one set up as quick as possible. On the top of the cart, you have your Zoll defibrillator right here and your pads. When your patient, if you find your patient unresponsive, you'll open the pads, you'll put the front one on. As you put the backboard on, you'll put the back pad on, and we'll cover this in another video. And then you'll turn your monitor on. On the top is your charting for the primary nurse. Primary nurse, you're gonna come in. Once you get help, you're gonna get this board and start charting on it. So that should be on the top. Again, this is nursing's responsibility to move this and the Zoll over to the new cart when the new one comes. Okay. All right, so now we have several drawers here, right? And each drawer is kind of labeled on the outside. So if you want to know what's in it, you can kind of look at the thing and see where it is. Most things are in drawer 4. We're going to open these drawers and take a look at them. Except for the pharmacy drawer that has all the medications for the meds. It's kind of self-explanatory. You'll pull these drawers, right? The pharmacy one you'll put at the end of the bed so whoever's going to be giving the medications can reach it. The top is your intubation, so they're going to put the tube in to breathe. You're going to pull these carts like that. And then you can take this whole tray, slides all the way out, and you can move it to the head of the bed for the physician and respiratory so they can intubate the patient. In this drawer, there's all the equipment needed to put a ET tube in the patient. There's blades and handles. There's McGill forceps to pull the tongue open and out. A syringe to blow up the balloon. This is a different blade. They all are different sizes. A stylet to put into the tube to make it easy to pass. This is the handle. And these are all disposable, these blades. There's some numbing medication in the back called Hurricane. You don't have to worry. An oral airway. lidocaine to lube up the tube, some tape, and a suction catheter, suction tip right there. Drawer number 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, right, has a lot of stuff that you'll need. I'm gonna pull it. Okay, and in here you'll notice you have extra pads. So when the coat is done, you put your extra pads with the Zoll on top and switch it to the new cart. This will go down, get restocked, come back, and the pads, they'll have pads there. The other one, if you have a pediatric code, hopefully never on an adult floor, these are the pediatric pads, and these are the pediatric leads, the 3 leads with the Accutax to put them on. So we're gonna leave them there on top. You have syringes if you need to draw blood or dilute some medication. You have saline to dilute the medicine with. These are feeding tubes, little suction tubes, kangaroo tubes, so they can be used for small children. That's why they're there. And just like these for NGs for kids, you have NGs for adults. So they're just like what you're used to. There's different sizes, and they go all the way up to 18. So 18, 16, 12, and 10. And then if you have an infant, these small ones. Other things back here, you have a 5-way valve for the NG tubes. You don't really need those because they have the other valve. You put those back. Right here, this is the end tidal CO2. So if they put the tube in to breathe and they say we need the end tidal CO2 connector, this is what it looks like. And you can just hand it to respiratory. They should know what to do with it. You have adult Accutax if you need them. Extra paper for the printer. So if this paper in the printer is out because we've been checking it or there's been issues and it's been printing, or you've used all of it in the code, here's the second pack. A razor in case the person's hairy and we need to move it, put something that needs to stick like this on them. You have male adapters and some needles to help with your syringes. Okay. Slide those back. Put that back. Okay.
Where would you put this, Carter?
This could be.
Or you keep it there?
Pretty much keep it. I would just keep it in the cart so that if you need a syringe, it's right there. It's accessible, but I don't know if it really needs to go to one end or the other. If they need an NG tube, which if they're putting a breathing tube in, they're going to want one of these NG tubes, not the little ones, one of the regular ones for the adults. You can just hand it off to the person at the head of the bed, and they should be able to do that. That's the other reason why you want to have your suction set up in the room as quickly as possible, because we're not just suctioning for the intubation in the mouth and everything. We're going to put one of these tubes in, and if they have fluid in their stomach, we want to get it out so they don't aspirate. Okay, so drawer number 5, that's this one. And as you notice, I've been pulling them. These all have numbers on them. You don't have to track the numbers, but I believe respiratory will. So to get them, you just have to really pull hard and they come out. If they hang there, you can leave them there. It's not a problem. Now, this tray is your IV tray. And you have all your IV supplies except for solution. So you have your extension, your micro tubing here. You have extensions. You have primary set tubing that does not go into the pump. So if you're just hanging a bolus, you could use that. You have different size IV catheters. So there's 24, there's 22s, there's 20s, and there's 18 in there. So they're right there. You have tape. You have an IV start kit with extra tourniquets. So if there's 2 of you and one's on each arm, you don't have to have both start kits open. You can pull tourniquets and look to see where the veins are. You have regular Alaris pump tubing in here. You also have a hep lock. Actually, you have two. If you have a pediatric patient, which you won't on adults because you only take 18, there are PD supplies. So the next drawer here is IV solution. So you know in the drawer above it, it has all the IV supplies to start. Down here, you have all the IV solutions to go with those tubings. So you have saline, you have glucose, you have 5%, 10% glucose, a small bag of saline, and 500 milligrams. And a small bag of D5, and that's for mixing medications, mostly. And the last drawer we have is a respiratory drawer. And it said respiratory on it, obviously. And when you look in here, you have the ambu bag. You have some masks in case they're COVID or you need an extra mask. There's some N95s in here. You also have some PPE gowns right here. You have a suction tip. You have a suction tip here, suction tip here. You have suction tubing. You have down the ET tube suctioning if you need to. Oral airway. Back here you have a pediatric ambu bag, so it's a small bag for the kids again. We have some oxygen in here, non-rebreather mask. We have some blood gas kits, some sterile gloves, some pediatric sized oxygen, and pediatric supplies. There's a pediatric airway and such. So, and for PD, they have a bulb syringe in there as well. And that's for getting a sputum sample, adult or PD.